Drama, bin drama, Arab drama, ole drama, mto drama, nyar drama, yote pamoja. Ayayayayayaya. The Sonko tapes. The Sonko tapes. Folks, in one of the most dramatic revelations the country called Kenya has ever seen, the former governor of Nairobi has put all of us into a fix. He has put us into a problem we cannot come out of. And you'll have to listen to my show today to understand why I'm saying this. Because if I have a problem with you, I can go to court. Indeed, even if I have a problem with the President of the Republic of Kenya, I can go to court. But if I have a problem with our judiciary, where on earth will I go? What? What is the ordinary man down there thinking after the Sonko tapes? And it doesn't matter how true they are. It doesn't matter if they are false. But what is the ordinary Kenyan thinking? Nobody's talking about it. The people who should come out and tell us something, even the Chief Justice, are not saying anything. So what is the ordinary Kenyan thinking? And especially the Kenyan with the matter still pending in the courts. What are they thinking? Oh, anyway, welcome to this show. Get that cup of coffee. I don't think popcorn is appropriate today because this is a serious matter. We're in a crisis as a country, even if you don't realize it yet. Karibu sana, and God help Kenya. There's been a saying in the country called Kenya for quite some time now that goes something like this. Those in our jails today are not criminals. They just didn't have the money. Now, of course, what you hear on the streets, many people believe, means nothing. There is no evidence. Suspicions are not enough. But we all know throughout history, what you hear on the streets may be half-truth, but it is always based on something. And many times, what you hear on the streets may actually be factual. And everything concerning this issue has always been left hanging until now. The Sonko tapes. The crudely put together Sonko tapes. Whatever happens next, whatever happens tomorrow, I can assure you of one thing, one consequence of those tapes. Things in Kenya will never be the same again. Overturn. Now, let's start by putting things into perspective. Any country that does not have a proper judicial system that is impartial and, very important, has the faith of the people, that country is finished. It's just a matter of time. Because humans who live together will always have a problem. There's always something that will happen. A very dear servant of God that left us some years back, whom I respected, used to put it this way: you cannot put stones inside a bag and sling that bag over your shoulder and expect those stones not to bruise one another. Impossible. And so, when things go wrong, where do you run? You run to the courts. But if you cannot run to the courts because you don't trust the courts, you don't trust the judges, where do you go? That is the question. But actually, if you're shocked, it's much worse than that. You will agree with me that there's no worse injustice under the sun than an innocent person behind bars. A person who is completely innocent, jailed for something they did not do. Last year, Citizen TV carried a case of a man who was framed by his wife, who colluded with some policemen, and he ended up being accused of a crime he did not commit. He ended up being accused of defiling his own daughter. And before this report, which mercifully changed things, the man was behind bars for over 10 years for something he did not do. And his daughter grew up. And her conscience worked on her and worked on her. And one day she went and saw her father and confessed to him, Mama aliniambia niseme. My mother told me to say this and that. The long and short of that whole very sad story is that the evidence against this innocent man was fabricated. And because of the judicial system we have, this evil had no chance of being detected when it went to court. Chances are high that some judicial officers may have even been involved in the whole fabrication. And a man's 10 precious years gone just like that. Now one cannot help think that there are probably very many others, not as lucky as Bwana Wambua, I believe that was his name, who are still rotting in our jails, completely innocent. Money exchanged hands, money worked, and they're done, cooked forever. Surely, what can be more evil than that? Kenya's third president, Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, who recently turned 90. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Belated, of course. Mwai Kibaki must have seen it this way, because one of the first things he did when he landed in office was a spirited attempt to do something about this, to correct wrongs linked to a judicial system. Ngera Judiciary report, which set in motion the radical surgery of the judiciary. Now, many Kenyans missed this, but it is a very damning and telling report of what our judiciary system was at that time. And you'll need to decide if things are now worse or better I leave that decision to you. Justice Aaron Ringera's report told us that 5 out of 9 Court of Appeal judges were corrupt. That is more than 50%. The same report told us that 18 out of 36 High Court judges were corrupt. That is exactly 50%. And then we're told that 82 out of 254 magistrates were corrupt. Now we all need to understand that these were the ones where some evidence was found. There must have been others where there was no evidence, but it did not mean they were clean. And these affected judges were given 2 weeks to resign, or be removed. A few resigned, but what followed was a major war between the judiciary and the executive. And in my opinion, in the end, the judiciary won. Bottom line, the radical surgery did not work. Corruption fought back. Now, there's a very important point I want to put forward, and that's the reason why I've given you that incident. And that is, so far, nobody who has taken on the judiciary has won. Nobody. And by the way, I'm not talking about an ordinary Kenyan here. I'm talking about the executive, the president of the Republic of Kenya. And at that time, a president who was much more powerful than the president is today. Judiciary walimshinda. Please allow me to give you this introduction, very long one, so that we understand the context of this issue, because it is important. Because it's very easy to throw accusations here and there. It is very easy to say, no, we want justice. But I believe it is more important to be realistic. And this point will explain a lot. It will explain, for instance, why over all the years, all the decades that we've had a problem, and some people have known that we have a problem with the judiciary, why nobody has done anything about it, or even attempted to do anything about it. The president of Kenya in 2003 alijaribu, akashindwa na akaibishwa. Now I would like to specially dedicate this video, and on this channel I've not dedicated many videos. I think there's only 1 or 2 others I have. But I would like to especially dedicate this video I'm doing today to all those judges and magistrates of character that we have, who are surviving our judicial system and doing the right thing every single second of their life. And trust me, it is not easy. If a system is already rotten, surviving in that system by doing the right thing is almost impossible. I take off my hat today to all those gallant men and women in our judiciary who have never taken a bribe and who have never been swayed by any political pressure while doing their work. Your work will stand the test of time. One day, your gallant, heroic, patriotic attitude will be noted and celebrated. Even if you're not on this earth when this happens, your children and your great-grandchildren will celebrate you, will celebrate on your behalf. You see, I know firsthand, because while I was very young, I lived in the same house with a man who was trying to do the right thing in a rotten system. And I saw what he went through. I was not told. I saw and I experienced. And of course, I'm talking about my late father. And I'm talking about the rotten police system. Anyway, it is in this kind of environment that the sensational Sonko tapes have been released and have been doing the rounds on social media for quite a number of weeks now. But have come to the forefront in the last few days with a very sensational release involving a judge of the High Court. Now, there's something here super fascinating. Sonko himself is not innocent because he has been dealing with this judicial system for a very long time, and swaying things in his favor for a very long time. Long before he got into politics, long before he became the governor of Nairobi. Sonko knows a lot. In fact, in one of these videos, he was involved. He seems to have been seeking a favorable ruling over a case he was directly involved in. And he failed. The ruling went against him. And it is indeed possible that the former governor of Nairobi was so bitter that he wanted revenge. And that maybe he wanted revenge through these tapes that he has released. That one is possible. There's a motive right there. But of course, that is not the big story here. The big story here is that Bwana Sonko, in the process, whatever his motives were, has opened a very smelly can of worms. And nobody knows the exact contents of that rotten, smelly can of worms. And nobody knows where all this will end. But I've already told you, one thing I'm very sure of, things will never be the same again. Because what comes out in these conversations, the picture that these conversations secretly taped, what they reveal, is beyond mind-boggling. The tapes tell us that what usually happens is that a down payment must be made for favorable ruling. And then the balance paid after the ruling. The tapes tell us that what we have been hearing in the streets, that the issue here is money, and not whether you are right or wrong. In my opinion, Sonko's tapes tell us that what we have been hearing on the streets is factual. The tapes tell us, since the very damning Ringera Judiciary report in 2003, nothing much has changed. In fact, things may be worse. Gallant President Mwai Kibaki failed. Many people don't realize that a rotten judiciary system affects everybody and every facet of our lives in Kenya. It even affects the economy very quickly. For a minute, just try and get yourself into the mind of an investor. He has a few $1 million to invest in the country called Kenya. What is one of the first things he'll want to know? Do you have a judicial system that is capable of sorting out any issues that will arise, any legal issues? Now, according to my information, this is what investors are told. We have a dodgy judiciary system. And the way to work around it is to get the right lawyer or the right legal representation. Somebody who is familiar and knows their way around our court system. If you appoint this lawyer and that lawyer, there'll be no problem. I guarantee it. Let me break it down for you. What they're actually saying is that if you appoint this lawyer, he knows the judges. He knows what to do. Nothing to do with the legal skills and expertise of that lawyer. Yeah, you get my drift? He knows who to bribe. And more importantly, he knows how to do it. Yeah, therefore you'll have no problem. What? I will not be surprised if there have been a number of investors who are very serious about investing in Kenya. But the minute they heard that, they said, no, we'll try somewhere else. Maybe Rwanda, for instance. Or Tanzania. Yeah, and you'll not be surprised to hear that quite a number of foreign investors have invested their money in neighboring countries and they're targeting the Kenyan market. So that means those jobs went elsewhere. Bottom line, that company is still making money from Kenya, but we're not benefiting. Why? Because of our judicial system. Because of our judiciary. Yeah, vijana hawana kazi. Yeah, we have a very serious problem. So many young Kenyans are jobless. Part of the blame, the judiciary must take. Folks, this thing is huge. Now, seeing recent developments, where a judge has even come out to defend himself, I will confess I have even gotten more confused. Because I'm no longer sure about what kind of standards our judiciary has. And to make matters worse, the president of this arm of government, the Chief Justice, at the time I was making this recording, had not yet come out to make a statement and to clarify a few things to Kenyans, which would have helped a lot to clear the confusion I'm having, and I believe the confusion a lot of Kenyans are having, about what kind of standards we have. Because in my opinion, a judge, a magistrate, is supposed to be above reproach. What that means is they don't have to be guilty of anything. No, we don't need to get there. They have to be above reproach. You cannot for a second doubt them. And so it is not okay for people to have a phone conversation and to mention the name of a judge. It is not okay just to mention his name. No, 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 no. Let us go no further. Let us not even go into what they are saying about that judge. Just mentioning the name of a judge and they're talking about a favorable ruling, that is enough. Already, the red line has been crossed. You see, in these matters, getting the evidence, successfully prosecuting a judge or a magistrate for corruption, I'm afraid, in my view, that is a periphery issue. Hiyo ni issue ya kando, hiyo ni side show. The main issue is the perception Kenyans have of their magistrates and their judges. And in my view, the Sonko tapes have completely destroyed forever any favorable perception any naive Kenyan may have had until now. Sonko's tapes have destroyed completely something very important in our country called Kenya. You know, I heard somebody saying the other day that it is better if we had not known. It is better if Sonko had not released those tapes. Because what you don't know does not harm you. And although I don't agree with that view, I can see the logic. Because I want to believe that we have some rulings that are fair. Yeah? I want to believe that many rulings and judgments that we get in our country do justice to the parties involved. But just imagine the following situation for a minute. You have a case in court. Yeah? You didn't know, or you're chosen to ignore what you hear on the street, and you are expecting a fair ruling. And then this Sonko thing comes up. And then you're going for the ruling tomorrow. What will be at the back of your mind? Perception, folks, is extremely important. Let's take another situation. You're in the political arena, and you've heard people say that the ruling over the BBI, there was something very wrong with it. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal training. And it is the same with the vast majority of Kenyans. What percentage of Kenyans know anything about legal manenos? A minute, tiny fraction. So you're dealing with the majority here, the vast majority, who don't have any legal training. So after the Sonko thing comes out, what do you think everybody's thinking? Folks, it doesn't matter whether the Sonko tapes are true or not. It doesn't matter whether they're fabrications or factual. What matters is the destruction they have caused. Things will never be the same again. Indeed, in my view, we have entered a crisis. The judiciary in Kenya is in a crisis now that I have no idea how they will get out of. Maybe you can educate me. Maybe you can correct me. And advise me that no, Chris, this is not a big issue. Everybody knows Sonko. Nothing has happened. Hakuna perception, hakuna nini. We continue with the business as usual. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have mercy on Kenya. You see, you may have heard rumors that your wife is cheating on you. You may even have very strong suspicions. But things are still okay. Things are still bearable. But then one day, somebody sends you a tape of action, Yalungulu, with your wife and somebody else. What do you think that will do to you as an individual? What is the psychological impact on you of watching such a tape? If you can bear to watch it through. I'm afraid that is a perfect illustration of what the Sonko tapes have done to Kenyans. And that illustration I've given, as crude as it is very perfect. Because even the person who gave you the tape, let me ask you a question. Is he a hero to you or a villain? Now, anybody who has been through a situation like this will know that that man can never be your hero. He has really helped you. He has moved you to reality. Maybe he has saved you from a very bad situation that would have happened in the future. He has done all that. He should be a hero. But human nature is such that that man or woman can never, ever be your hero. That is how complex, complicated, confusing this issue is. And so far, Kenyans have been left hanging. Nobody wants to touch this issue at all. Many people have matters pending in court, especially those people who can do something about it. Nobody in their right mind wants to upset the judiciary. And meanwhile, the ordinary poor Kenyan is waiting, confused, and waiting for something to happen. And so far, it seems, nothing will happen. Maybe after 2 weeks, hopefully, people will forget this bad, terrible nightmare and move on with their lives. As usual, nobody will dare do another Ringera Judiciary report. Jaribu one. Vindu vichenjanga. I'm saying that because a few years back, nobody could do anything about the executive. Jaribu one. But these days, people are insulting the president all over the place. And in my opinion, a lot of that insult and hitting out at the president is not deserved. And the president is human. In my opinion, the president is a good man, deep in his heart. And in my opinion, it is unfair. Yeah, but while people are hitting out at the president, making videos every day about this and that, and this evidence and those documents, who will dare touch the judiciary? Nobody. Because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you can guess where you'll end up. Before a magistrate, before a judge. And they're going to look very official, very serious, very impartial. But they're human. You can be sure at the back of their minds, they'll be saying, haka ni kale kamutu. Sasa kako hapa. Wacha to deal na yeye. Kabisa vizuri. Tumalizane kumalizana. In other words, we are very ready to investigate our president. We are very ready to throw barbs at our president. But the judiciary, wachana. Actually, I shouldn't be laughing because it is okay now. Things are okay. At least I think so. But what about tomorrow? What about next week? What? Now, I have done another video. I did it a few months back about the war between the judiciary and the executive. I highly recommend it if you've not yet taken it in, because you're going to understand this issue in a deeper way. Understanding is important. Yeah, because maybe somebody will come up with a solution. Because if I've done nothing else on this video today, I hope I've been able to show you how impossible the situation is. Yeah, it's not a simple matter. Now, there should be a link on the top right-hand corner of your screens right now. Yeah, click on it and go to that video. The same link is repeated in the description area below. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.